Welcome back to day one of the Quake World Championship. Joining me once again here on the desk, we got ZSX and Ketchup. And gentlemen, we got a chance to see that last matchup. Definitely seeing some good stuff here already in our early games, and a lot more left to go as we prepare for our third series of the day. We're going to be watching psygib versus Scigib coming up here, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But any thoughts on the last match that we just saw?
I think, to quote the one of the famous casters from that particular game, it was a slobber knocker. I think map one in particular, I felt a little bit sorry for RMV. I thought he played that fantastically to come back from the depths. And I know he was saying even before the series how nervous he was on this stage.
Right.
That's what we kind of illuminated in the opening stages. These players aren't used to it. And so for him, maybe that was an element. I felt really unfortunate there, but Dramis refined it, kept the pressure on, and showed that experience in game two.
Yeah, Ketchup, from you as we take a look at the bracket, the updated bracket. Similar thoughts? I mean, we saw that kind of surprise rocket jump there at the end, but
I think so. I think having the peace of mind to go for a risky play like that to close out Veil was something that, you know, a lot of players would have just sort of second guessed.
Yeah.
But I mean, just being able to maybe break the cycle, as it were. More impressive that Dramis was ready for it.
Yeah.
Because that very nearly did go into RMV's favor, right?
Yep.
So lots to break down there, but when it comes to making a debut like this, I'd say that was a rather impressive one, I think.
Yep. And we've already see our round of 16 matchups that are taking form there. Kilson and Dan DeKing, and then, of course, Dramis doing our job for us and letting us know in his interview that, hey, I'm going to have to face my teammate if I win this one. And sure enough, that's what's going to be happening there in the round of 16. So our next matchup is going to be psygib versus Scigib, and we did have a chance to sit down and chat with psygib a little bit about this season and what he might expect out of this finals here. Let's take a look.
My gamer tag is psygib. I think my seed is 13th, if I recall. I've been playing Quake since I was 5 years old, so since 1999, basically. Professionally, since 2014. My favorite champion is probably Strog. He's just very fun and mechanically difficult to play. My favorite weapon is LG. I love the shaft. My journey this season has been pretty rough. I haven't been super motivated, but I spent a little bit of time the past month prepping myself and getting ready, and I feel like I'm getting back into form, and I think I'm the best I could be right now. So since the season ended, I went to, the first thing I did was go to my sponsor's house to get mentally prepared and practice a lot more against Europeans and just everyone, but mainly to get the European practice, and that's helped me really get mentally focused again. Being back at live finals it's so good. I've missed the environment. I've missed the servers, just having zero ping and being around all my friends haven't seen in a long time. It's very nice. The biggest challenges are probably just myself, because I think mechanically I am at a high point, and everything, the whole package of positioning and decision making is all good. It's just me making sure I'm focused and doing what I need to do, not losing a track of anything. So the favorite, I think, to win the whole tournament is obviously Rafa, and then the next person would be Kilson. And then shout out to Strong Sage for his confidence, that I think, based on that alone, he would win if we're going confidence levels. If I were to win and take it home, it'd be just, I guess, completion for me finally, after so long, playing duel and doing my best always. I feel like I was almost getting to that point where I could reach that level, but then the COVID hit and slowed it all down, but it would mean the world to me.
There's psygib. Gentlemen, your thoughts here on our first player for match number 3, psygib?
I think he's a really great player. I mean, there's a reason he's still in the QPL after so many good players didn't make it this far. He definitely had a very tough stage. I think he was pretty much bottom, and he admits to that. And I think he's reflected on that, and speaking to him before this as well, he does feel that he's in a better place. He's put in more practice, he feels strong, and I think this is a good matchup for him. It's somebody he knows he can beat and has beaten in the past, but it's still a player that will cause him some serious problems. So if he can pick up some momentum, he's somebody that no one will want to play anyway.
Yeah. Ketchup, any thoughts?
psygib was always known for being one of the more reliable players to just get the frags done. You know, kind of quite a connoisseur, you could say, of the 2v2. So always a player that's ready to sort of do damage when necessary. But like I said in the interview, mechanically there, but just needs to keep his head in the game.
Yep.
It's really no mystery that it hasn't been a successful year for him, but it's been a very tough year with just the caliber of competition. So this sort of first entry level of the bracket in tournament, there's an opportunity here for Scigib to take it. However, one would think there might be a player that's a bit more hungry to hit that next stage in this tournament, and that's Sib. Sib is a player that has just constantly fallen just short of that success that a lot of other players in QC, like the QPL, are currently having. But the motivation's always been there. It's why every single time there's been a qualifier, Sib has shown up. And in some cases, you know, has just won it again, and then makes it back into the next qualifier. Sometimes does well, sometimes not so much, but is always just about to reach that point. And I mean, that's kind of where we are again, isn't it?
I mean, if you're looking for some level of consistency, at least having consistency to get back into the spot to be able to contend once again is exactly what Sib has been able to be pretty consistent with here over the last few seasons. So, Dan, any thoughts here on Sib? And we'll take then a look at the picks and bans.
I think he's obviously quite a conflictual character, but as Ketchup referred to, he's hungry, and I think that passion shows through in many different ways, and he's always somebody that is emotionally invested in the game and emotionally invested in the tournament. It can spin both ways, as we see with a lot of players. It has taken him down routes where games haven't gone his way because of that mental side of his game. So coming into this, I can guarantee he will be prepared, but it means a lot to him as well. And so that investment, we'll see how that plays out. And
we could probably have a whole conversation, because I might argue that, there's probably a difference between mental and the emotional side of it, right? I definitely categorize myself as an emotional player, and so I tend to identify other emotional players. And let's take a look at the picks and bans, though. Psygib mentioned, hey, Strog is my favorite champion, and I don't know where Strog is.
So I'm going to make the bold claim. We do have the game feed in front of us on these desks.
Yes.
I do see Sib hovering over Strog.
It is Strog. Yes, it is. Yes, it
I thought he had thrown out his first Joker of the tournament, the hidden pick.
But yes, it is Strog. So we're going to be playing Corrupted Keep, Veil, and then should we need to go there, Insomnia with an interesting selection. But throw it out here, fellas. What do you think of what we see here in the champions?
I think we're starting to see a little bit of the, I guess we can call it progression again, mostly because of the final pick there for Scigib, Death Knight. Over the last few months in particular, watching people do scrims, or even watching Kilson for that matter, there have been players putting a little bit more focus on this champion than we'd seen prior. That could have just come down to the map pool that we've been having. It could come down to some of the new inclusions, perhaps. But either way, we've actually started to see this champion do a rather considerable amount of competitive damage. So if we reach that point, you're going up against a Sorlag, but you have area denial of yourself, you have that burst damage. It's a map that you can sort of lay some traps on because it's so small. Kind of keeping an eye on that one, I think.
Yeah. Dan?
2 respect bans in there as well, in the Clutch and the Scale Bearer. So that kind of opens up the pool just to you can't take it serious. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
There's nothing wrong with you there.
Damn it, weak, get a grip.
But it does open up the pool a little bit. Corrupted Keep is a favorite today, and Veil. We're seeing these maps consecutively once again. Classical, and they're quite even as well. Maps like Blood Covenant, Deep Embrace, they're quite risky. They can really be turned and just absolutely shut down on you, right? So that's why they're being banned out so early on. If we get to Insomnia, Psygib is one of the few players I recollect that was picking it in the QPL as well. Yeah. So he's happy on it. I can't speak for Sib. I haven't seen a lot of Sib, so I'm sure he's accustomed to it. But even before then, pretty standard picks across the board. The speed again in the Anarchy, we saw it on Garpy. It was okay. The Strog and Pika, we believe, on Sib. Very, very good pick on Corrupted Keep. Equally on Veil. Gone for the mid-ground again with the Ranger and the Eisen. Very standard pick with the Eisen. I like the speed of the Ranger, though. If Scigib can play that well, as we saw with RMV, it can be really, really dangerous. And then to Ketchup's point, Death Knight is really good on the Insomnia. There's lots of choke points to maximize that Flame Strike. And the Sorlag's a strong pick, too.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, you know, to what Ketchup said, we have been seeing a little bit more Death Knight, but on Insomnia, we've seen some hits and we've seen some misses too, right?
Yeah.
So how that'll play out, I mean, I think, you know, we saw Kilson show some kind of interesting strats when it comes to Death Knight. We've also just seen some not so great DK Insomnia performances. But hey, it's a new day. It's a new weekend as both players are prepping and getting ready. Dan, you get to take a break at this one. I'm going to cast with Ketchup. I hope that's okay. It doesn't matter what your answer is because that's what's happening. Great. But thanks. Any final thoughts? Any predictions here, Dan, before we send you off?
Am I allowed to speak now?
Sure.
I think your mic's live.
Thank you, DJ.
You have 10 seconds. Go.
I'm predicting a 2-1 a 2-1 to Scigib. The producers are not happy with me today. 2-1 Scigib.
Okay. Ketchup, want to throw anything out there?
Feel like this could be a win for Sib, but I think a 2-1 is likely. A 2-0 would be unexpected.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to be jumping into things. Corrupted Keep is going to be our first map. It's the Anarchy on Scigib and Strog on Sib. Taking away Scigib's favorite champ, and we'll see you on the other side, Dan.
There's always going to be that sort of personal note, perhaps, you know, even down to the respect bands and even down to some of the choices. Knowing your enemy, as they say. And let's not forget, since the very beginning of Quake Pro League, both Sib and Scigib have both been around. Nice. So it's not like this is a new experience for either of them. How much they've played against each other, I guess, remains to be seen, because you never really know with this kind of thing.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. As we are now officially in the game following Scigib right off of the start here. And so a little bit slow Ketchup here, kicking things off as both players taking their side of the map. And now we have the first damage exchanged. And I do think that we'll probably see a pace set here pretty early in that first frag. We see Peeker coming out and quickly going down as Scigib gears back up for that head.
Now, there was a delay between the pickups. We've seen that almost instantly. However, not able to do much about stopping that heavy from getting picked up, which might kind of, I think maybe that might work against Sib here. Sib is doing a bunch of damage on the retreat, but not enough to survive that first frag. He's going to go onto the side of Scigib, who is now also in position for Mega. Sib getting the nail gun spawn. I mean, it's not really the kind of gun you can push with fresh off spawn like that.
Yeah, I mean, Scigib landed those 2 phenomenal rockets there to open that up too, really giving him an opportunity and doing a dance around the pillars, but that direct and then a secondary one did a lot of the work there as he opens things up with that first frag. Once again, Peeker comes out. Really more just getting some information here. This is the LG from the top. There's the inject back to the LG. It's got Sib kind of down and stuck in the corner, and Scigib capitalized it, taking his second frag.
Now, you would call this a strong start. However, let's not forget, we haven't even had 2 minutes on the clock yet, and this is Corrupted Keep we're talking about. It has kind of come down to an early strat, right? The fact that the items weren't split at the exact same time, and it did mean that, unfortunately, Sib losing that fight near heavy let Scigib get the frag, push forward. Sib didn't get an amazing spawn to really do anything of it, so kind of had to concede the Mega as well. So there has been an early chance of these items being rotated, which is not something that you see on this map all the time. It often takes a little bit of time for that split to begin, but happening early on, risky play, but we'll see. There goes another one.
Yeah, great LG there by Scigib. He even said, I love the shaft in his interview and has proven it here in this first game. Peeker trying to get some damage in once again. And I also have to say, Scigib's injects have kind of been on point, right? 2 of them really coming out there right at the crucial moment of battle. And then another one before that third frag, kind of prepping him to go up and attack and take that positioning there against Sib. And Scigib finds himself up quite significantly, 4-0 here as we hit that 3-minute mark.
There was impressively surgical timing on the push in towards that Mega there. You know, even half a second late, and lovely rocket.
Wow.
I feel like towards that Mega, Scigib might have actually lost that fight. Sib knows that the opponent was weak, pushes in with the Plasma, able to get some damage, but not enough to really stop the fact that the Mega gets pushed in, and then bam, you know, we get another frag there. If Scigib's timing was not as on point as it currently has been, this map would not be as dominant as it currently is. 3 minutes, 5 frags in the tank already, and Sib just hasn't really had the chance to knock Scigib just really off this momentum. Every item has been Scigib so far.
It's true, and I mean, I think if you look past what we're seeing there, coming quick around the corner, a great rocket from Scigib, making it 6-0, and I feel like Sib is making the right choices in terms of, like, I want to try to get in, use my LG, sort of get that damage done, but Scigib is matching that almost impeccably. So that's where these 6 frags have ultimately come from. Some great moments where he has capitalized, and there's a rocket jump up to the top. Again, some more LG damage, but Sib's able to turn the tides with a double blast of that shotgun, putting his first frag on the board.
So up until that first frag that Sib was able to obtain there, I was kind of looking at the in-game stats, even though it was kind of 6-0 and Scigib was consistently outstacking Sib, they were completely dead even on damage. It was just that the existence of the control for Scigib was so on point that Sib wasn't really able to compete in any of these fights. Now this is that opportunity to perhaps start turning things around. Scigib retreats down towards the light, tries to put himself in position for this heavy, but Sib in a good position as well. Now Scigib steals it away, does manage to get the frag, but it wasn't clean. And I think Sib will be thinking about that.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned the damage, and we have seen Sib kind of crawl ahead, and I think that's also a testament to just Scigib's injects just coming at the perfect time, keeping on top of those hourglasses as well. But we see Scigib then assaulting from the side. 5 frag lead here going into the 5-minute mark. Still pretty comfortable here from Scigib, but he cannot let up. You know, he's got to keep the aggression on. Now both players pretty weak catch up as the heavy is up, and Scigib is going to grab that, immediately grab some health bubbles as well as he gears up for yet another assault heading over to the Mega.
We've already seen how tender an Anarchy can be on a map like this.
Oh yeah.
On the opposite way. So Sib able to get a good string of momentum, I suppose, might be able to start snowballing. It's one thing that's famous on a map like Corrupted Keep. Aggressive push from Scigib to keep his opponent as far behind as possible. Clean frag. Inject popped. Lovely stuff. Light armor, and there you go. Just like that. Heavy. Sib spawning their rocket launcher. That interesting knowledge for Scigib because he's going to know what Sib doesn't have access to.
You're absolutely right. Now 6 frag lead. Scigib also continuing his run of landing really nice rockets. That time, though, Sib with his LG out, able to get a lot of damage and clean up the already hurt Scigib. Again, the spread of 5 frags. Still pretty comfortable here for Scigib. I think Sib, if he can find that momentum, pick up 1 or 2, puts himself in a much more comfortable spot. But for now, I think Scigib still has the control he wants.
Extra amount of time there from Scigib, who's just thinking, you know what, I'm going to get that. Oh! Forget what I was saying. I can't even remember what I was talking about. That completely caught me off guard, and very clearly, I was not the only one.
Oh, it was so nicely done. A rocket from out of nowhere surprised us, surprised Scigib, and then the follow-up with the LG. And I mentioned, you know, hey, Sib would be in a much better spot, a little bit more comfortable if he could pick up that 1 or 2 frags, and that's exactly what he's done here in the last 45 seconds. Now, still a 3 frag deficit, and Scigib needs to be a bit careful about his choices and how he's choosing to go about it, thinking about these major items and what is going to benefit him the most, but he's stayed on top of those injects. Unfortunately, though, last couple engagements, that hasn't really come into play. So heading on over to the heavy, might have a battle here to contest for it. 2 rockets coming in on Sib, but Sib's not letting up at all. LG coming out, he hears the screams, direct rocket, but still can't clean it up. Somehow Scigib's sticking around and hanging on and grabbing that frag.
In most scenarios, that second rocket absolutely would have done the damage, but one of those scenarios where the second one just doesn't quite connect as close as it was maybe supposed to, and you know, gravity doing its thing there, I suppose. We've got to remember Anarchy on the hoverboard has a little bit of extra air control, so those juggles aren't as consistent as you would expect. But it was a bad frag for Scigib to have to concede. You know, if that was a fight or maybe even a trade, you know, if Scigib was able to get a good situation off that, then who knows where we'd be now. But such wonderful rocket placement on the return there from Scigib to keep himself in the lead. Over 2 minutes on the clock left. There's not a lot left of this map, but Scigib keeping things nice and confident and very, very healthy indeed. We'll no doubt wait around a little bit for that Mega, but you can see, just trying to get that information first. Where's my opponent going to be?
Yeah.
Then when I take Mega, where do I go from there?
Yeah, and in that situation, you mentioned it earlier, Scigib was in it, and this time kind of the tables turned, but Scigib knew exactly what Scigib didn't have off of that spawn. Doubled back, knew that all he was going to be able to combat with was going to be that RL, and the LG was an easy cleanup there. Now, Peeker's going to come out again, this time from above, raining down the shots, and does manage to get a frag. Now we're sitting in a situation where Scigib has about 90 seconds to try to bring something back, potentially tie this game back up. Scigib is still up by 2, and it is all on Scigib to make something happen.
Scigib's in a scary position. Had no choice but to just watch Scigib move towards heavy, knowing that you've just spawned, you haven't got injection, all you've got is a rocket launcher. You can't fight for that item. You know, you need to try and play the information game, play nice and defensive, and in that instance, actually, took loads of damage, but even that point-blank super shotgun was really good, and even that damage he was able to obtain. Good stuff too. Unfortunately, not enough to really stop the bleeding as much, thanks to the Mega. However, the double super shotgun's able to bring it. Reanimation indeed. Hang on a minute, Wheat.
Yeah, and the inject coming out just at a perfect spot. Now, is there too much aggression coming out here by Scigib? It's still yet to be seen, but he's got to do something in order to make up these 2 frags, so you've got to turn that aggression up just a little bit. Scigib is going to try to play from the middle area, trying to drop some LG on top of his opponent. Knows that the Mega's about up, is just waiting for it patiently. Time is definitely on his side. There's still 2 frags yet to go, and only 15 seconds to make it happen.
There's not a lot of time left. I mean, I think that's understatement of the weekend so far. 10 seconds, it can't be done. You die now, he's going to delay your spawn. And just like that, Scigib, that push in, that risky push in, but it paid off with that super shotgun.
Yeah.
Really goes to show why it's one of the core ingredients to success when you're on Corrupted Keep.
I think a tale of, first off, the injects coming out from Scigib, pretty nicely done, really saved him in some key moments. Scigib, I think, prioritizing when he could use the LG, it definitely going in his favor a few times, but I think that early sort of frag lead from Scigib set him up for the longer game there, as we're going to be heading on to map number 2 in just a moment. But, I mean, what do you think, right? In terms of what we saw between these two, you would say that you could see a scenario where Scigib took that game and Scigib didn't, but
absolutely. I think we definitely could have seen a reality where that went into the favor of Scigib, because you look at these replays, there was more than one occasion where Scigib was just so close to being able to bring it into his favor, and then Scigib's kind of tried and tested combat skills come into play, where you need to land that big, big, big damage. He's able to do it. And it's one of the things that I think is the most reliable elements of Scigib's gameplay. It's why he's so dangerous when the fight happens in a duel. It's why he's so dangerous in the world of 2v2s as well. Like, if you need someone to start doing damage, Scigib tends to be your man. And in these kind of encounters where even the smallest bit of a damage difference will put the fight either way, go figure, Scigib won a fair few of them. Yeah,
some interesting damage totals here on both sides, where that LG is pretty much prioritized, but Scigib, he landed quite a few rockets there up at 1,700. And then I think, everything else pretty even. But that shotgun coming out for Scigib and did earn him a frag or 2 in that matchup. So next map's going to be Vale, where Scigib will be playing Ranger, and Scigib is going to be playing on Ison. A combination of champions that we've seen here on this map plenty of times. But based off of what we just saw catch up, what do you think about what we've got here in these two players?
I'm going to keep a close eye on how this map starts. Because if you look at how the last map began, there was somewhat of a bold play, the early push, and then the items weren't at the exact same time. I mean, how many times when you watch Corrupted Keep do you see both players kind of take their item, they'll leave at the same time, they'll push in, and then it takes a fair few minutes for that sort of time to somewhat break off and start the chain effect, I guess. But
Right.
within the first 30 seconds, we saw that, and it 100% favored Scigib to the point where about 3 or 4 frags, it was looking really, really good for him. It took a long time for Sib to actually get a single frag off the back of that immediate momentum off something that, when it works out for you, it's great. But when it doesn't work out for you, you're kind of left thinking about it at the end, like, oh, should I have gone for something safer? Should I have done this and that? So I'm kind of looking at how this next map begins to see if someone's going to make a bold play like that again, or if we're kind of go, all right, well, let's be a bit safer.
Yeah, and I mean, on a map like Vale, you can be a bit safer, especially if you're on Sib's side. You've got the turret, possibly a lot of control there, and the exit teleport over near Mega, potentially near the heavy as well. But I agree. The beginning of the match, similarly to Corrupted Keep, is probably going to tell a larger tale as we get started. Through Sib's eyes, he will grab that heavy pickup, immediately going and picking up a rocket launcher, knowing that, like, hey, I could go in here and it's not going to matter because Scigib's going to come to him. Does throw out that turret, but without the arsenal of weapons, decides to just back off, grab himself an LG, grab himself a shotgun. I think that was the right move.
Not the most significant use of either of the abilities right there. I think Scigib, able to get some of that opening damage, if you will. I think the priority there would have been just safely collecting something and getting out without taking too much damage, of which you can clearly see Scigib did a good job. Heavy's now in the position. They'll trade item for item, but with Sib, no armor, this is always a scary fight to be caught in. And unfortunately for Sib as well, just doesn't have the right weapons to capitalize. I think if there was some verticality there, the Sib I know probably would have got a rail out for that, try and get some cheeky little exit damage, but without the weapon, couldn't be done. Now has to desperately get a little bit of rocket ammo, because we've seen how important rockets are always going to be on a map this small. At the same time now, rail on hand. We didn't mention this on Corrupted Keep, but there's one thing about Sib which can sometimes give him some absolutely fantastic games. That was a lovely steal. I'll finish my talking point after this fight, because there could be some real significance here. Retreating rail, the aggressive push, like, God, he didn't go up that jump pad.
Wow, so glad. That would have been instant regret. A great rail, but Scigib landing the tri-bolt to get himself the first frag. Doesn't come out of that fight super clean, but now that we're through the action, Ketchup, what were you going to say?
So what I was going to say, and something that we had seen stages and stages, is that when Sib's rail is on fire, he is one of the more rail-heavy players that we kind of have in Pro League in general. And it can lead to some maps that are just out of this world impressive, because he'll just start hitting every single shot. But with rail accuracy will come confidence, and Sib sometimes doesn't always have the largest amount of that. So it's one of the things that I'll be looking out for in this map so far. Hasn't had a huge amount of damage just yet. Sib trying to play the careful game, knows you're a little bit stuck because you want to make your presence known, you want to stop an item from being picked up, but you're not very healthy. Now a bit late there on the teleport, Scigib not able to steal that away, and there we go, opening rail. What kind of rails are we going to get from Sib today?
Yeah, well, he's been trying to hit a few. We're going to have the turret come out. That puts Scigib in a really rough spot. He's down to 1 point of health and still manages to slink away, playing a game of rats as he somehow escapes. And I think, Sib made the right decision on that one, throwing down that turret, putting him between him and his opponent. Does hit another direct rocket. We've seen quite a few of those out of Scigib. And, you mentioned that missed orb, and that was a failed opportunity, but at least it didn't result in a frag. Now we're almost to that 3-minute mark, and Scigib still remains in the lead with just the single frag.
And on a map like this, that don't mean much.
It doesn't. You're right. And I think Rail has decided a few things more on how you're pushing one player this way or that way, but not really become a deciding factor. Now here Scigib's going to grab that heavy, make a rocket jump up to the top. He does jump for the Mega, gets nailed by a rail from down below. We're going to have an orb come out yet again. Tries to finish off Timmy, the turret, but still remains up there with just a little bit of health, I believe. And, manages to take full control of both items there in a pretty marvelous way.
Given how things happened up there near Mega, and even the fact that Sib didn't quite manage to get the rocket jump, that could have gone so much worse. But back up to a full regular stack and in position to take away one of these important items, basically unpunished completely. And even then, in position to take the second item too. So Sib able to play a nice defensive game there, not having to deal with too much of that. And I like actually being so confident there that Scigib's not going to push towards the Mega. However, maybe too confident because the Mega's still there. Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on why that one played out the way that it did. Perhaps Sib thought that Scigib was a little bit lower than he actually was, and there that Mega's picked up. In fact, the Heavy's up as well. We're going to have a swap of positions with that orb. Scigib hunting and on the chase, and he just needs a little bit of help picked up there by Sib, and he needs just one more shot and somehow shaving off these points, but it's not enough. Scigib can't secure the frag, and Sib manages to stay alive.
But barely.
Barely.
It's going to take a little bit of time to bring yourself back up to an even remotely healthy state, but yeah, these aggressive pushes, it's just, you know, it is common at this level of play that when an item is there to be picked up and you know that you have it for free because the opponent's way too weak to be there, you push forward a bit, right? Try and get some bonus damage, and then you go and pick up the Mega. But in that case, Sib pushing all the way and kind of just having a real sense of bloodlust, you know, trying to secure the frag and flying too close to the sun, having to deal with the repercussions. But now...
It's a trap, and another direct rocket into the frag. Scigib had a remarkable stack at that point in time. That frag is also going to come at a point in which both of our major items are going to spawn. He picks up that Mega, immediately transitions over to that Heavy, and there it is after getting the frag. 4-0 now, and Scigib is looking very strong.
Scary moment for any dueler to deal with. I know we're just about to hit that 6-minute mark, 4 minutes left to go. You've got to get at least 4 frags to turn this one around. Not only that, but you're a map down. Make that 5. The mental fortitude will be tested here more than ever. There's so much to think about to make this comeback possible, just to keep yourself in this upper bracket that, you know, I think Sib's going to have to really hit that next level, you know, the ascension. Can it be done?
Sib is hitting a few of that rails he needs to hit, but Scigib remains with a higher stack in most of these battles. Now we're going to have Sib coming out with the LG, knowing that Scigib is incredibly weak. That will get him his first frag, but with 5 frag deficit here and less than 4 minutes left to go, it can still be a tough one. He's going to have to hit those consecutive rails that he has managed to do, but he's going to have to do it quite a few times, catch up, in order to try to bring this one back.
Vale is one of those tiny maps. You are able to start pushing things onward and onward and onward, but it requires those clean frags with minimal damage in return. Sib able to now pick up a rail. That's certainly good news. And the next item being Mega. You know, if Sib can get a frag here, perhaps, then backing off towards the Mega to bring yourself back up nice and healthy. Push in, make the next play. But you just... Oh, no! So I kind of heard Scigib behind me kind of shout to himself before that even happened.
I don't know if that was like a war cry or something. I don't know. I was not looking through the eyes of Scigib when that happened.
I kind of think that was more of a oopsie.
Just an oopsie. Yeah, they do happen here. You got to be careful. But that makes it, you know, the climb a little less steep. Catch up for Sib. He still is in control. He's got a little bit better stack, but ultimately it's going to come down probably to this next round of major items. It's going to be very important for Sib to try to capture both of these in order to be able to try to make a dent in what we've got. There's the Mega. He knows the Heavy's up soon. He's going to make a jump down for it. Expects his opponent to be back in the back hallway. A great rail by Scigib. A defense there. Of course, it's still picked up by Sib, but he delays that Heavy a little bit and does land that rail on Sib.
That would have been so much more rewarding for Scigib if there wasn't as much of a divide between these items. You know, that kind of push down, and it takes you an extra 5 or 6 seconds to pick it up. Wow! There's the Ranger stuff right there. The turnaround orb. Scigib, they're going to be feeling good about that one, especially. Oh my god! Ugh.
You know, you have that moment where you just like, I'm off the spawn, I got to get back into this one. And your opponent just happens to be behind you with the railgun. That is a rough go right there. Scigib sitting with 7 frags to Sib's 2, and that might have spelled the end of that one here for Sib. He's gonna have a real tough time figuring out what to do. He says, GG's.
I can't blame him. Not this late on into the map and after what happened there. I just don't think he can pull it off. Mathematically, it's not possible. And it kind of goes to show how brutal of a game Quake can be, because in the blink of an eye, it goes from winnable to 2 rushes with rail only to, oh, I guess I can't win this map now. What the hell happened?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, there were definitely some interesting moments. I felt like Sib, and let me take a look at the accuracies here just a little bit here. I mean, I thought Sib was landing some real nice rails, crucial points in which he needed to, and you know, unfortunately, you know, there were just a few moments where psygib was able to grab both of the major items that put him in a better stack position, and ultimately was able to just add on a few additional frags as things continued, and that makes it 7-2 as the last 30 seconds tick down. But GG is called, and psygib will advance. Dan, it seems like you were here just a short few minutes ago, and you're back.
Man, I had to sprint when that GG came out early. That was unexpected. But yeah, that was, I think, you know, result-wise is what we said, but the way in which it went down was very different to the way I thought it was going to go down.
Yeah.
That was the psygib show pretty much from start to finish. I think there were signs of life with Sid, particularly in map 1, but I never really felt that psygib was uncomfortable. He looked happy, he looked in his game, he was hitting good shots, so it was really well played.
It's being able to deal with ferocity in all of its forms. I think if you look at, to be honest, both of those maps, especially the first one, there were so many moments where, you know, Sib was being a playmaker.
Yeah.
You know, he was going for real specific things that, if they worked, fantastic. It's just that, you know, it's hard to pinpoint why it didn't, but psygib was just able to deal with it every single time. There were no surprises.
No.
Even though a lot of them you'd think there would be, but there weren't. And just happy to match it. Get the damage when necessary, get the fight.
I think what psygib did really well, and we said it in the first Tuesday days, he just did the basic well consistently. Like, timing was on point.
Agreed.
And then on map 1, because he was in that groove, he was like rocket jumping through the map, through the TP, using the speed to really shut down any aggression from Sib before it even started. And that pressure from psygib was so strong that Sib, he kept in it, but he was clutching in it as well, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, LG was a big player there in that first map on Keep, and then in Vale, I wouldn't even say it was really rail. It came a lot down to just the item control, and you know, I mean, psygib did mention during his interview, right, that like after the season, he just took a moment to focus on him and the game and what he felt like he needed to do. Whatever serenity he found in that experience, I feel like we saw it there in that matchup. To your point, he definitely felt in control most of the time, felt happy, didn't see him tilting. Even when things weren't necessarily going his way, he found a way to break back in and take home the series.
Now, worth remembering, folks, this is not where those that have fallen short right now, this isn't where their tournament journey ends,
right?
Is it? Because we do have that lower bracket. Those matches will be starting a little bit later, I believe. We do have a B stream as well, so stay tuned on social media, and I guess here when we know we're ready to go for that.
Yep.
So players still have their tournament lifeline. It's just the scariest point to be.
Yeah, it's a double elimination, and of course, best of threes. It's a little bit of a change up from what we've seen in past, where the challenger has kind of been a like, are you in or are you out situation. But now having that second life there, I think will make for some interesting matchups as we head on into the lower bracket.
It can change how players adapt to situations. Some players really come alive in that lower bracket.
That's true. That would be one hell of a run all the way to the end, though. We'll have to see. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue day one here at the Quake World Championships in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, I hope you're ready for it, a former champion versus someone who came in and is definitely considered a challenger. It's going to be Kilson versus Dan the King. Don't go away. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be right back.
It up, baby. Something big coming